We're going to start out this morning watching a video. We're going to watch just a few seconds of it, and I want you to check out what's being said here, and then we're going to stop it, and then we're going to watch the remainder of it, and kind of go from there. So.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
All right, you're in the grocery store. That's going on. You know, you get these headphones on. We see that everywhere today, right? How do you really feel about that? You know, sometimes I'm in there, like yesterday, I was with the kids. We were doing a couple things, and we kind of, well, I guess the day before yesterday, we kind of turned the corner, and there was a guy with his little headphones in, and he like to run right into us. And I was like, whoa, man, come on, you know? But honestly, man, how do you feel about that? You hear this guy, he's singing, even if it's a good song, but it's a public place, right? And we've been kind of conditioned in public places to do what? Kind of do our thing very silently, kind of walk through there. So what are you really thinking in your mind if you hear this guy? Not just singing, but singing kind of loud. I mean, honestly, where are you? I'm probably looking at him thinking, dude, I'm just trying to get my stuff, get out of here. Tone it down just a little bit, right? Maybe go to volume 2 if you're going to sing in the store. But when we look at life like that, I want us to notice that sometimes it costs us a wonderful blessing. We'll see that through the rest of the video.
This little light of mine,
let it shine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
this little light of mine, oh, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine,
I mean, you go to the grocery store, you're just thinking about getting bread, you hear this guy singing a little too loud, you're grumpy, you stand over there and say, hey man, can you keep it down a little bit? Can you imagine what you would have kept yourself from? See, what I want us to see this morning is we go into life and we're either spreading gloom and doom or we're spreading joy no matter where we go. And I want you to think about the story that you have here to tell if you were in this supermarket trying to do your shopping. But what's the first thing you're going to do when you get in your car? Hey, let me tell you what happened, man. This thing was nuts. I was in the grocery store just a minute ago. There was like 50 people all of a sudden started singing This Little Light of Mine. It was the coolest thing ever. How long into life are you going to tell that story? We look at Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 and 23, and we see the fruits of the Spirit there. And it starts out saying the fruits of the Spirit are these. Love, and then right after that is what? Joy. I don't know. I mean, I didn't inspire this. I'm not God. But I look at this and see that I believe there's a purpose for joy being number 2. Love is the foundation of everything we do as Christians, as followers of Jesus. And I believe joy comes in right behind it because I believe God is saying to us, love is the foundation, and you are to go out and be people of joy because you know my love. 350 times. That's how many times the word joy appears in the Bible. And I want to ask you this morning, as a Christian, is that what you are about? Are you a person of joy? Now think on that for just a moment. When others talk about you, when you look at yourself in the mirror, does the word joy come to mind? I want us to notice what we read about the wise men upon seeing the star. It says in Matthew chapter 2, verse 10, when they saw the star, they were filled with what? Joy. They were filled with joy. They saw, man, this is great. Look, there's the star. And I bet they never told that story again. What do you think? No child, no grandchild ever knew of the joy of that night. No way. No, they followed Paul's advice in Philippians chapter 4. Rejoice in the Lord always. I said again to you, rejoice. What were they saying? Hey, I got a joyful story I want to tell you about when we were out in the field. And I looked up and I saw the star, and boom, there it was. You know? And what I want you to think about this morning is the joy that went along with that. The joy that we ought to be having in our lives because we know. This idea of Advent, I don't even know if you know that word. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm 40 years old. I didn't even know what that word meant until like 2 years ago. A buddy of mine, he was writing some blogs on Advent. I said, I've never experienced this before. I said, what is this? He said, well, he started telling me some things about it. The whole idea is coming. That's what it means. Now, we go back and we say, yeah, this is probably not the time of year that Jesus was born. When you look at the historical information, and December 25th is probably not the idea. It's probably more March, April, somewhere along in those lines. But the bottom line is, we either believe he was born into this world, or all of us are kind of crazy for even doing what we're doing right here this morning, right?
Man.
So if he was born into this world, and he died to save us, then what in the world is wrong with us celebrating the fact that he was born into the world? But the idea is, you take these 25 days of December, and since that's when the world recognizes his birthday, the Advent means his coming. Look at the 25 days and say, he's coming on the 25th. Let's do what we can to prepare for these 25 days for the coming of Jesus. You think about all these people who for years and years heard the prophecies, and they were excited about the fact that he was going to come, and all of a sudden, boom, the star appears. Think about how they felt. Think about that joy. Think about them sitting around telling their grandkids and their children that story over and over again. It's one of the things I love about my grandfather. He loves to tell jokes. He loves to make people laugh. He loves to provide joy for other people. And this year, when we gather in just a few weeks at his house, me and my brother, my 2 cousins, Granddad, tell us that story about, and then he'll tell it. He'll start, well, I was 15 years old. That's how it starts. And that's how, and by the end, all of us are rolling. I mean, we've heard the story 100 times, But the bottom line is, he'll tell it again and again and again as long as we'll listen to him, because it brings joy to our lives, and that's what he enjoys providing for us. I recently read a blog, and it was an entry entitled, "The 9 Qualifications for Elders That We Never Talk About." And in it, the author, Wes McAdams, goes through the fruits of the Spirit, and he makes a really good argument that a man who does not possess these 9 qualities, even if he does meet what he finds in 1 Timothy and Titus, if he does not possess the fruits of the Spirit, he does not qualify to be an elder. And I agree 100% with him. He started out and said, if a man meets the qualifications of 1 Timothy and Titus, and he is not a person of joy, he does not qualify to be an elder. All right, well, am I saying that to hammer? No, I'm not saying that. I'm going to tell you why I started thinking about that. Because if he doesn't qualify to be an elder, if I'm not full of joy, do I qualify to be a minister of Jesus Christ? Beyond that, if I'm not filled with joy, do I qualify to go out and represent Jesus as one who is truly his son, his child, every day? Folks, these are some things we got to think about. Some things that we got to look at and say, okay, am I representing my God in this way? This morning we're going to talk about bring joy to the world. That's the title of our lesson. I really hope you'll go with me. I hope you'll think about some things that we're talking about this morning. First thing we're going to look at is, don't be too serious about you. And the bottom line is, some of us take ourselves way too seriously, right? Now, what label would you say that others would put on you? Think on that for just a moment. I've done a little research here. I've gone ahead and kind of conducted a social experiment. So I've asked about 30 of our members what they think, what label they would put on about 10 of our members. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and read these this morning. All right, we're going to start. Describe Dan DePrima. Okay? So this is what people use, these terms, to describe Dan. I'm just messing with you. But see, Dan he was first one called, and you're thinking, man, I don't know if I'm next, right? So were you getting a little bit anxious there? I wonder what people are going to think about me. I hope he reads just a nice one. But see, these wise men, and I believe they had to be easygoing people. And you look at them, you do a little bit of research, and there's so many different definitions, and I think the thing that we can be consistent on, as I read through and kind of defined it, the Magi is what they're called collectively, were priests, astrologers, wealthy people. Now, you look at the star attracted them. Why? Well, they were into that. They were astrologers. Obviously they were priests. Some of them knew what was going to go on in the God world. So there's so many things that you look at, but you see these people, and you see that they were well-respected members of the society of that day. Yet they left behind their position to do the most important thing that they were called to do. Now, what I want you to think about this morning is, how important are you? Now, don't think too much of what? Of you. That's what a lot of us are. And sometimes we can't get over ourselves to be able to do what is the most important thing. Now, let's get a scripture here in Matthew chapter 2. It says, Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the reign of King Herod. About that time, some wise men from eastern lands arrived in Jerusalem asking, "Where is the newborn king of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose, and we have come to worship him." Now I got to say something to you real quick, okay? That is, you aren't that important. Now I hate to be the one to tell you that. But see, maybe in your life every day you run the show, you wear the title. But at this time of year, back home, you're just another member of the family, right? Most of you know I'm an Auburn fan. I love Charles Barkley. I've always enjoyed his honesty, his brutal honesty. Whether you agree with him or not, I've always respected that about him. But I've read several of the books he's written. He said, every time I go back to Leeds, Alabama, I'm still little Charles. This guy's worth, $50, $60 million, been all over the world, got a nationally recognizable name. And he says, I walk into that house, if my mama tells me to sweep, I'm going to be sweeping because that's what my role is there. And I think that's where we all are. My mom came to visit us just a couple weeks ago. Sam came into the restroom, and I was standing there just kind of washing my hands, and he said, "Daddy," I said, "What?" He said, "Why does Nana call you Joey Lee?" Well, back home, Joey Lee, that's who I am, and that's what Nana still calls me. So when we go back home in this time of year, I don't care what kind of title we've got, I don't care what kind of accolades we've won in this world, we're still not that important. And that's what I want us to think about. Don't be too serious about you. Go wherever you're going. Play that role that you got to play for a few days. We can do anything for a couple of days, right? You can bear and grin it. It may not be what you want to do. It may not be how you want to be treated. You may feel like others look down on you. They take advantage of you. That's cool. We can do that for a few days. Why? Because I want to bring joy to my world. I want to make those people around me happy. I want it to be a good time of year. I heard a man say this just a few Christmases ago. The few days of Christmas each year are the highlight of my year. I get to come down here, see all these kids grown up and hear their stories and listen to them banter back and forth. And that brings me a lot of happiness. The rest of the year is pretty lonely for me. So you never know how much joy you bring to others. Sometimes just by doing the things that you don't normally do. By being the butt of the joke. By not being in charge. And that's what I want to say to you as we go into this holiday season. Don't be too serious about you. Second thing this morning. Stop looking at you. Okay? Because some of us already, we're already complaining. I know I'm not getting that PlayStation 4. I know I'm not getting the Barbie doll I asked for. And the problem is, those of us who are saying that are like 45 years old, you know? We're still pouting about something we should have gotten over like 20 years ago. But I wanted to tell you a little secret. A little while ago, once again, it ceased being about you. When those kids came into the world, when those grandkids came into the world, it was over. Okay? Now, you have those people in your family, right? I mean, I do. I'm like, you know, we unwrap gifts, and you look over and you got the 52-year-old uncle who's pouting, and I'm like, why? Because he didn't get what he wanted. Are you kidding me? Let's all make fun of him, you know? Look at this guy. We don't need to do that, but that's kind of what we want to do because, I mean, in your mind, you relate who I'm talking to, right? Or who I'm talking about, because I know who those people are in my family. But here's what I want you to think about. In the Christmas story, we see a similar person. Herod. Now, he was afraid of what was going to happen to him. Now, I want you to notice this. How is this child going to threaten me? How is this person going to get the attention that I won't receive? Now think about how narcissistic this guy had to be. Think about how he's looking out here at a child, at a baby. And he's worried about what's going to happen in that situation. Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 through 3 says, Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem, Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, Where's he who was born King of the Jews? For we've seen a star in the east, and we've come to worship him. When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And then you skip down to verse 16, it says, Then Herod, when he saw that he was deceived by the wise men, was exceedingly angry. And he sent forth and put to death all the male children who were in Bethlehem, and in all its districts, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had determined from the wise men. Now you look at that and you say, man, that's just crazy that someone would act like that. That someone would be worried about a threat. But I ask us this morning, are we really that different? Don't we allow the threats that others seem to be to us to determine outcomes that never occur? Don't we allow these threats of these people to allow us to go in a place in our mind and concoct schemes that we're going to carry out when they do this or when they say that? Don't we allow those threats, those people, to take us to a place of misery where no child of God should dwell? I mean, think about this holiday season. You think about this can be a time where jealousy can steal a lot of our joy. Because we're so focused on other people and what they're doing and what they're not doing. I'll be honest with you, the older I get, the more stuff I see in my life. I open the door and that front door step is not swept very well. And I'm just coming to a conclusion. I start worrying about you and what's going on in your life that you shouldn't be doing when I get all my stuff together. Amen? And I think that's the way we kind of need to look at this holiday season. But you think about how many opportunities, or not opportunities, how many situations we find ourselves in where we allow jealousy to steal our joy. Did you see what she brought in? Deviled eggs. Came pulling up here in that brand new Lexus SUV and she brought deviled eggs. Well, you know why she brought deviled eggs, don't you? She can't cook. That poor thing. Bless her heart. I mean, we bought their kid a $50 Xbox game. And they came walking in here with flashlights for our kids. Flashlights. What kid in their right mind wants a flashlight, you know? Who wants... Paid $5 for them. Black Friday. Home Depot. They don't think I look at the ads in the paper. And we do that stuff, right? I mean, it's not just my family. Y'all not going to be hanging out to dry on this one, okay? But I want us to go back to these wise men for just a moment. I want us to think about this. What are they thinking about? They're thinking about others. Now, one of the things that steals joy from ourselves and the others are the inconveniences that are involved in the season. Now, is it convenient to just pack all your stuff up and drive to another state? No. And sometimes that steals our joy. The inconveniences of spending more money than normal. The inconveniences of you living 14 states away is them saying, hey, but we would still like for you, if you don't mind, to bring that marshmallow top sweet potatoes that you always cook. Yeah, I'd love to do that because we have a mobile oven in the car. You know? But here's what I want you to think about. These wise men, how far did they walk? 800 to 900 miles. When you think about that, we get through here this afternoon and you say, okay, well, we're going to Christmas. All right, where's Christmas? What's in South Florida? And you just take off walking down 27. About Christmas Eve, you get there, you know. I'm walking up. What are you doing? I just want to see what the wise men felt like, you know. I got here 800 to 900 miles just to see Jesus. Now, why were they sent on this task? Were they sent for themselves? Or were they sent for another? And what did they do when they arrived? Now think about that for just a moment. What do you do when you arrive? You pile out of the car, you say, okay, I'm whipping you right now. Come on. You cry because nobody came out to help you with the bags. What did they do? They walked 800 to 900 miles. And then they arrive and they say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to worry about ourselves. We brought gifts for another. The gifts. That was what it was all about. Bringing these things and putting them before Him and saying, okay, we're going to present these to you, and then we're going to bow down and worship to you. That's the reason we walked 800 to 900 miles. It was not for what we can do. It was for what you came into this world to do. We have the privilege of being able to come and see you in this form as a little child, as a little man running around, toddling around the house. And man, we feel a privilege there. And we want to offer something to you. We want to worship you. And how much better off would we be if we went into this holiday season seeing it as a blessing that's been given to us? Amen. I want to encourage you to go and think about the blessing, about doing something for others, about taking joy with you. And when we do these things, we won't be disappointed. You know, when we feel sorry for ourselves, when we think about what we're not getting, it's going to drain all the joy from the holiday season. But you end up in a bad mood sometimes, right? During the holidays. Why is that the case? More times than not, it's because of me. Because of what I didn't get. Because of the way I was inconvenienced. Because something didn't go right for me. Instead of looking at what I can do and what I can bring into the situation, I'm worried about myself, which goes against what I'm to be about altogether. I mean, think about this as Christ followers. Self-concern is right the opposite of what we're to be about. Matthew 16:24, if anyone desires to come after me, let him what? Deny himself, take up his cross and follow me. Galatians 2 verse 20 says, I've been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me, and the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. I've died. I've been crucified. I've put myself away. That includes during the holidays. I want to give us 3 ways to focus on others this morning in this point here. First off is make a big deal out of others. You have this opportunity this holiday season. You're going to see some people you don't see very often. When you do, make a big deal out of it. What are you doing once again? You're not worried about me and myself and what I'm having said to me. I'm worried about making you feel good about yourself. Back to my granddad again. Every time I call him, this is what he'll say. Hey, sunshine. So I called him this past week. He answered the phone. I said, hey, Grandpa. Hey, sunshine, what are you doing? I said, well, we got to talk about something real quick. I said, I'm kind of tired of hearing the sunshine thing, okay? I'm 40 years old. My name's Joey. You think I said that? No. Why? Because I'm 40 years old, and every time he says sunshine, I eat it up. You know what I mean? I love the fact that he cares about us enough to bring joy to our lives in that way. And he doesn't just do it with me. It's my brother, my 2 cousins, all of us. He wants to make us feel like we are special. Second thing is this. Understand where others are in their lives. See, they may need the spotlight at Christmas time. You may not. And if that's what they need, then let them have it. Maybe they don't get the attention year-round that you get. Maybe they're not successful. Maybe you are. Maybe they look at you and they're kind of jealous and they say, well, I'm going to talk loud and I'm going to make a big deal out of myself so I can take the attention away from Mr. Rich Boy over here. Because it's the way we think sometimes. It's the way some people think. And if that's what they want to do, if that's what they need, let them have it. It's a couple of days. It's a couple of compliments. It's a couple times when you don't get attention. That's okay. Don't let it bother you. The third, and the way that I feel like is the best way to keep joy from being stolen this holiday season, best way for us to not focus on ourselves, is to do something nice for the person that we struggle with the most. Who is that person in your mind? Brother? Mom, uncle, granny, who is it? And you're already kind of panicking because you don't know what's going to happen when you get there. And at some point, you kind of took on the attitude of an adversary. And you said, okay, well, if you're going to play this game, I'm going to play it too. Is that what Jesus has called us to do? Now, how many Christmases, Thanksgivings, birthdays do you think you have to go through being nice, being the bigger person, doing something really kind for that person until you show up and they're back to where you want them to be? Why? Because you told them off? Because you didn't speak to them the whole time you were there? or because you love them like Jesus would. Stop looking at you. Third thing this morning, be able to adjust. Now you look at these guys in the story that we're talking about here in Matthew chapter 2. It says, where is this newborn king of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose and we've come to worship him. The original idea was to do what? Go and visit this baby. Go there, come back, everything's plain and simple. And then Herod has to get involved. And then things change. Look at verse 12. It says, when it was time to leave, they returned to their own country by what? Another route. For God had warned them in a dream not to return to Herod. So in other words, we were just going to come here, we're going to go back, and everything's going to be okay. But Herod gets involved, and all of a sudden, things have changed. And that's where many of us lose it, right? The change of plans. Would the change of plans send them down a dangerous way? Would it be a greater distance to their journey? Was it unfamiliar? I don't know the answer to those questions. But I do know this. The original plan wasn't going to work. And in the middle of the hustle and bustle of the holiday season, the last thing you need is a change of plans, right? Anybody in here type A personality? Anyone firstborn child? Guess what? I'm both. So I love a change of plans. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how minor it is. It could be 0.6 miles out of the way on the journey here, and I'll go, dude, that's not the original plan. Okay? But this is what I want you to think about. Change and adaptability are part of life. And the more willing you are to change and to be able to adjust what's going on this Christmas, the better off things are going to be for you. But the better off things are going to be for those who are around you. Amen, Christian? Because she's in the car. The kids are in the car. They have to deal with Carton W. Griswold when I go crazy when something changes. That's what I want you to think about. Think about how you and your attitude and your ability to be able to say, this is not going to be a big deal. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to adjust. How's it going to help the others to have a better holiday season? I'm going to say this up front to you. I want you to write it down, please. Just write this on your sheet. Something is going to happen. Something out of the ordinary. Something that was not part of the plan. Something is going to happen. Now write that down. Okay? And when it happens, just remember back like 2 weeks. So, Joey already told us this. Like 2 weeks ago. I got it in my notes. So here's the thing. Granny burned the ham. The answer? Cracker Barrel. Okay? All right? Jesse brought his girlfriend. No one told us. Everyone knew except us. We don't want to look like the stingy part of the family. The answer? Dollar General. Flashlights. What I'm saying to you is be able to adjust. Here's the thing. Who told the wise men to go home on another route? God. He warned them in a dream. And if he warned them to do something different, don't you think he was going to take care of them on that different route home? And won't he be with us when the changes in plans come along? See, another reminder I want to give us is, how many times do we see that the mission of God was done through a change in plans? And I don't know how it works. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why the bridge was out and I had to go through a community. But maybe I had to go through that little community and I stop and I get gas and I see a guy who I went to high school with. He's down and out and tough. And he's having tough times all around him. And he says, I just needed somebody to lift my spirits a little bit. And man, you have been a blessing to me today. Or maybe Grandpa forgets to buy the milk, so you have to get in the car and you have to run down to the shopping center. And when you're in there, you see your cousin, the only one who wasn't going to come to Christmas because he's mad at everybody else. But you have that opportunity to walk in and see that guy and say, man, it's not going to be the same without you. I know things have been frustrating. I know you feel like you weren't done right this year. But man, we want to see you there. And he shows up. Why? Because of something that was inconvenient. Because of something that was a change of plans. I don't know how he does it, but I do know this. In order to be able to be used by God, sometimes we must be able to adjust.
Amen.
As we begin to conclude this morning, what will you do to bring joy to your world this Christmas? See, the thing about it is, in our minds sometimes we think, I wonder if God's going to send me to Africa. I wonder when God's going to send me over to Europe. I wonder when God's going to send me to New Zealand to do His work. And the thing is, we're waiting on Africa or New Zealand or Europe, and God is saying to us, I want you to go to Cedartown. I want you to go to Somerville. I want you to go to Munford. And what I want you to think about is, you can walk into that situation claiming one who is Jesus and claiming one who is a follower of Jesus, and you can walk in with a bad attitude and be mad at the kids and be frustrated with half of the people who are there, and you can come in and have gloom and doom in your life, and that's what you're going to spread. And you can do that for 30 years of your life, and you can be sitting around those same people, and every time they see the Christ follower come in the door, they see gloom and doom. Or for 30 years of your life, you can walk in and be full of love and joy and peace and patience. And that uncle who sits in the back of the room, who says nothing to anyone, is watching you. And for 15, 20, 30 years, you're having an influence on him. And he's thinking, that Jesus looks pretty good. What's it going to be for you? Brother Flynn over here at Rainbow Church in Gadsden. He's the associate minister, so he's in charge of a lot of their pastoral care. He had two sisters, never married. And every Tuesday he would go see those two sisters. They had a brother that they lived with. He never married. So it was the three of them. Two sisters got up. They came to church 3 times a week, never missed. He would go see them, talk to the brother who never came. A few years pass. One of the widows passes away. Tuesday rolls around. Brother Flynn gets in his car, goes back out, visits the widow. The brother's there. A couple more years roll by. Second widow passes away. He does the funeral, gets up, says really nice things about her. Tuesday rolls around. You know what Brother Flynn did? He got in his car and he drove out and he saw that man. And that gentleman said, I wondered if you'd show up today. And he did. And about 2 more Tuesdays, Brother Flynn visited with that fellow, and he baptized him into Jesus. And what I'm wanting you to see this morning is the same thing I need to see in my life. God's given me opportunities left and right. And I can work for Satan and bring gloom and doom, or I can be the child of God that He's called me to be and bring joy to those in my world. This Christmas season, who are you going to work for? We can help you in any way whatsoever. Prayer partners will be in the back, we'll be in the front. We'll do anything we can to help you at this time as we stand and sing.